Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the Turned Brain podcast. I'm your host, Heather. You can find me on Ravelry at The Turned Brain and on Instagram at The Turned Brain Knits. This is intended to be a knitting podcast where I share my current projects, the things I've finished, and also anything else that might come up. Thank you for joining me today, and let's get started. We're going to start with whips, I guess. The first and only work in progress I have right now is the Malibu shawl, which is right here. This is a 3-color DK weight shawl by Jody Brown of the Grocery Girls. It is a whole lot of squishy garter, some fading in, which you can see here, and then this really pretty slip stitch pattern, which I've never actually done before and is supremely easy. I am using really all of the wrong yarns. It is intended for 3 skeins of DK weight yarn, and I had bought 3 skeins from Bayou City Yarn Co., who is now Shipwreck Sheep, and my third color really supremely didn't work with this. My main color, I guess my middle color, is Every Forever by Shipwreck Sheep, and I have purchased this color 3 different times in 3 different bases. This base is really amazing. It is her fluffy DK base. It's 50% alpaca, 25% silk, and 25% linen on a 2-ply DK. It is soft and silky, and it's going to be really just amazing once it gets soaked and blocked and washed. On this base, this color really mutes, but you still get these really great berry pops and some nice blues going through. And it's really knitting up beautifully. And my other DK is, again, Bayou City Yarn Co., now Shipwreck Sheep, in the hydrangea color. I really think it's going to play well with Every Forever and pick up those nice blue pops. But then I needed a third color. And I had this in my stash. It has been in my stash since my birthday last January, and it's worsted. And I decided I was just going to go with it. I think they're playing well okay. There's a couple things where I'm changing colors where it's getting a little bit of a strange buckle, but I think that once it's all wash and block, that's going to go fine. But this yarn just it matched perfectly, and when you're getting to this fading, you can really not even see it. It's a true fade. It's not giving you that stripy look that can often happen with fading. And this one is just a commercial yarn. It is Universal Yarn Deluxe Worsted Superwash in the lilac wash color, number 747. And this was a birthday present from my mom. I had visited my family back in Walla Walla, Washington, and they've got a fabulous yarn store called Pearl 2 there. And I'd seen this yarn, and my mom bought this yarn to make a hat or something, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I had asked for some other stuff for my birthday, and she popped a ball of this in. So I'm glad that it's coming out of my stash, and while things are a little bit wonky in places, I really think that at the end it's going to be fine. So let's talk about this pattern. Again, the Malibu shawl pattern. It's a pretty shawl, and I'm really liking how it knits up, but I'm getting a little bit frustrated with the pattern itself. It's a simple pattern. Again, it's mostly garter with that slip stitch going into it, but the problem with the pattern is that it references itself a bit too much. So I got to my section. Let me pull it up on my phone. Let's see. So I got to the section today, and it says rows 105 through 112. Repeat rows 55 through 58 twice. Okay, that works. So I go back to rows 55 and 56. I'm sorry, 55 through 58. And 55 and 56 give you the stitch rules. Knit these, purl these, whatever. Just, it's written out specifically. And then I get to rows 57 and 58, which says repeat rows 3 and 4. So this pattern's already made me jump back. And then it's making me jump back again. So there's a lot of shifting back and forth. This entire shawl pattern is actually on one half of a piece of paper. I have it digitally, but almost the entire pattern fits on one column of a 2-column pattern. And almost every set of directions says repeat these previous ones. And it's a little bit frustrating. It's a simple pattern, but having to jump back and forth through my pattern is a little bit irritating. I really wish it had been broken down more into sections where we have the garter section and we repeat those, and then we have the fading section, and then we have the slip stitch section, so we can repeat those. But this saying to go back and repeat these, and those ones already say repeat, it just makes it a little bit frustrating. Kind of feels like I'm reading somebody's notes instead of a pattern that has been well thought out and finished completely. I recently did another pattern by the same designer and had a similar problem. And I mean, I'll get used to it. It's a great pattern. I can't wait to have the shawl on. And I'm really excited for her newest pattern, which is, I want to say it's the Stormy Seas shawl. It's a giant worsted weight shawl. And it's been raining for days and it's cold and our house isn't very warm, and having a nice cozy worsted weight shawl, super exciting. So I'll get used to this pattern style, but having done other patterns that are just a little bit clearer and more intuitive, this one it's a little plodding at times. But again, I'm gonna love the shawl. I'm excited to play with the fringe, and I've seen how it's worn and it wears really, really beautifully. So I'm excited, and I really don't think it's gonna take very much time, but let's move on. That is the only current work in progress I have. I had another one, but last night it became a finished object. So let's start with that one. We're gonna throw these on the blockers because they're socks. I knit a lot of socks. It is pretty much my favorite thing. And I have an entire pair. Voila. Got both of them. These are, let's pull them back some, absolutely amazing. I love them. This is I dropped the tag. This is the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them Character Edition Self-Striping Yarn. It's a mouthful. From Melia Made It. And it's really fun. I like that the colors are a little bit different than you normally see, but each of these colors represents a different character from the Fantastic Beasts movies. I think it's more specifically probably supposed to be for the current new one, the Crimes of Grindelwald, but all of the characters appear in both movies. So we have this black stripe is for Jacob. This purpley lavendery pink is Queenie. This navy blue, which isn't quite showing as navy, it's a really dark navy, that is for Tina. The burgundy is Newt Scamander. This nice teal is for Dumbledore. And the speckled black and white is for Grindelwald. And I've always wanted a speckled stripe on my sock, and so I'm really excited about these. This is the Mistletoe's Kisses. There's something on there. The Mistletoe's Kisses pattern from the Knitting Expat. And it just has this fun little detail here when you get to the color changes. I worked these toe up, which is fairly new for me, but I'm kind of loving it. Oh, excuse me. And then the heel is the Fish Lips Kiss heel, which I use almost exclusively. These socks were actually in timeout for a little bit. I had finished the first one and had gone all the way through the foot to the heel, and was hanging out at the library watching a video or something, doing my heel, which I can kind of do in my sleep, but apparently I slept too hard and I ended up with weird little nipples on my heel and had to pull it out and was frustrated, so they kind of sat in their bag for a couple of weeks. But I'm excited to have these. Didn't make them finished by the time I went and saw the movie, but they're done anyway, and who doesn't like a pair of stripy socks? My second finished object is a half object. I've been working since October on the Socks of Wonka collection from Paper Daisy Creations. Sadly, I'm not quite going to finish all 4 socks, but I do have this one. This one is effervescent. It is lovely, and it is inspired by the fizzy lifting drink from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's got this, it looks like cabling, but it's actually all done with increases and decreases. There's no actual cables, and lots of eyelets throughout to look like the lifting bubbles. And the coolest thing is this awesome ribbing with the bubbles and the twisted rib, and then it's got this great ribbed back, which I think is going to make it fit really, really well. I love this, and the second sock should hop onto my needle pretty quickly. This yarn is Absinthe from, again, Bayou City Yarn Co., now Shipwreck Sheep. This was a club colorway for her Moulin Rouge Moulin Rouge Yarn Club this summer. And it's really, really, really different and pretty. It reminds me of the colors you get when you take old black and white photography and then colorize it. Got this muted green all through and this lovely, like, dusty, rosy color. The base is fabulous. It is, I don't have the tag. It is her Bayou sock base, and it is BFL, silk, and cashmere. And I love it. I'll pull up the ball. So here's another look at it. Look how fuzzy it is. It feels so nice and soft and silky, and it's going to wash up absolutely beautifully. Let's see, it's getting a little bit, there we go. I'm excited to have these soon, and the pattern's super addictive. It felt like it flew off my needles. It's got a really long repeat. When I say it's like 28 rows that you do, so I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4.5 repeats. I'm not sure what sock I'm talking about. And it just went really swiftly, and I hate cabling on socks. I use a 9-inch circular, and cabling is super fiddly and a pain, and I really don't like it. So I love when designers have these great cable-like details that don't require you to actually cable. And I also kind of like a brainless back. So all the work's on the front, but there's so much. That would be the dishwasher. Sorry, just a second. There we go. So the knitting becomes a little bit more mindless. Now this one that you do have to follow the pattern. It's not something that's really easily memorizable, but it is intuitive. And so it's more kind of like glancing at the pattern and then continuing knitting, as opposed to really, really carefully having to follow every stitch. They're great. So I have one more finished object to share. And I have had this yarn for ages. It is so pretty. And it is the first cashmere yarn I ever bought. And I still haven't bought much cashmere. It is an MCN base. This is the Eternal Sailor Moon colorway from Junk Yarn in the MCN base. And my stepdaughter loves Sailor Moon, so I saw this and I had to buy it. And I let it hang out for quite a while. Always kind of looking for a pattern, not really finding one that worked. Finally found a sock pattern that I thought was perfect. Got it onto my needle. And I found the sock pattern, got it onto my needle, and it just sat there. And I never picked up the sock. I never wanted to work on it. And I don't even really know why. It was a simple pattern. It marked, kind of checked off all of my I like this in socks sort of pattern. And I did about this much and it just sat there. So eventually I just frogged it. And I was watching another podcast. I can't quite remember which one it was. And she pulled out a sock. Not a sock head. A Barley Light hat. Which is right here. And this is the Barley Light. A fingering weight hat pattern. It's free from Tin Can Knits. I've knit the regular Barley a couple of times. But never. This is actually my first fingering weight hat, I believe. Let me put it on. There you go. I haven't washed this or blocked it, but it is baby soft, and the colors are so sweet. It almost feels like baby yarn. You get the bright pinks and blues and the yellow, and it's just soft and delicate and will be really great for when it's not super cold, but I live where it rains all the time, so a hat is necessary all winter long just because of the rain. But the best part about the Barley is it used 30 grams of yarn. That means I have a hat and 70 grams of yarn. I only use 60 to 65 on a normal pair of socks, so I still have more than enough to find something else. And I might just do something more vanilla with this. I really want socks from it because it is just, again, baby soft. It'll feel so warm and cozy and comfy. There's the dishwasher again. But for some reason, it's just not fitting anything that I really want to do. So I'll keep thinking about this and hopefully get some socks going before too long. So that is all the knitting that I have. Today is, oh, I have no idea what the date is. Today is the 29th of November. So we're almost at December. I've been holding off on casting on new things until December hits. I have planning on getting the second effervescent sock on the needle. And then I have a non-Christmas yarn that looks kind of Christmassy that I'm thinking about doing some evergreen socks with, which are, it's a paid-for pattern that has this like lace detail on the leg that looks like pine trees. And then I also indulged forever ago, maybe in June, in the Cozy Knitters 24 stripe Advent socks. So you get 2 matching skeins of yarn, and they have 3 repeats of 24 stripes each. So doing the math, I need to do probably 4 stripes a day from the 1st until Christmas Eve, and I'll have a brand new pair of stripy Christmas socks, which is super exciting. Let's see what else. Well, I figure since I'm the Turned Brain, which if you didn't know is a Little Women reference, the quote is, "She is too fond of books and it has turned her brain." And it's actually my gamer tag on Xbox. And so when I signed up for Ravelry, it kind of made its way there. I figure I should probably mention the books because I'm an avid reader. I actually married myself a librarian. I like to read so much. Right now I am reading the Immortals After Dark series by Kresley Cole. I've read the first 4 to 6 books a couple years ago and just kind of petered off for some reason. No particular reason. The series is sitting at 18 books right now. But recently, the author Sarah MacLean, who writes historical romance, and Jen Writes Romance, who is a Twitter person and a reviewer, I'm not really familiar with her because I don't Twitter, started a podcast called Fated Mates. And every 2 weeks, they are rereading one of the Immortals After Dark books. So I thought that I would jump in and give that a try. I've made it through the first two. No, I'm on the second one right now. And these are paranormal romance. And they feature vampires and werewolves and Valkyries and demons and pretty much just any supernatural beastie under the sun that you can think of. And they're really, really good. I'm loving the second book, which is called No Rest for the Wicked, which features a vampire and a Valkyrie and essentially a supernatural amazing race. Just really, really enjoying them and hoping, I've been craving a long series that I can dig into and hoping that this one's really going to keep me satisfied in that way. Other than that, I think that's all I've got for now. Thank you so much for joining me on my first foray here, and I hope to see you all back soon. Please find me on Instagram. I am there all the time at the Turnbrain Knits. And please, if you liked what you see, subscribe. And hopefully I will get a Ravelry group going on soon for show notes, and I've got a couple of ideas about knit-alongs, probably not hitting until January, but, you know, hit me up. I'd love to see you here. Thank you so much for joining me, and happy knitting.